Okay, so how exciting. Let me introduce to everybody to Prue, first of all. So I'm not a pro at these interviews yet, and we're just having fun and having kind of a professional but also girly chat. So I've met Prue at One Roof, which is the wonderful entrepreneurial platform where we both are part of, and we have chatted there a lot. And so I thought, why don't I interview you and see what's going on so you can share with other women what makes you tick, what keeps you alive, what journeys you've been on. But before you start, and I'll ask you some questions, let me introduce officially. So, Prue Aja is a commercial portrait photographer, personal development coach, and motivational speaker. She has a passion for empowering transformations and helps individuals embrace their essence, expand their influence so they can step into their full power. She's known for her timeless style and deep understanding of personal growth, and her expertise and unwavering commitment to understanding her clients make her a trusted resource for high-profile executives, entrepreneurs, and leaders seeking to elevate their personal brand and embrace their purpose. So, all that said, Prue, welcome.
Thank you, Sabine. I'm so excited to have a chat with you.
Yes, it's going to be amazing. It's so good. So I'm going to ask you straight, since you are a lover of sharing, what is it that has brought you on this journey of photography, and what can you share with my audience or your audience that watches that about yourself?
So what brought me to photography? I think I was born with the gift and natural magnetism towards it because I took my first photo when I was 2 years old. And there's actually photos of me with my first camera as well. And then throughout high school, I always used to do little photo shoots down the beach, take photos at all the parties. And then I felt like it was too competitive and it was a very male dominant industry. This is back in the early
Mm, mm.
2000s. So I was like, oh, it's going to be too hard. I'm going to study fashion design. And funny enough, I got a diploma in fashion design and pattern making and moved to Sydney and started doing styling. And well, actually, I was working for a fashion business and also doing some fashion PR as well, assisting though. And I was meeting all these stylists, and I was like, oh, I love what you guys do. I want to do that too. And
Yes.
next thing, I'm working alongside some of the world's best fashion photographers in Sydney and London. And it was just quite funny because I was like, I wanted to do photography. I studied fashion, but I ended up next to the camera. And then I got caught out a few times suggesting ideas to photographers where they didn't really appreciate it. And of course, these were all male photographers. I don't remember working with one female photographer. And this was on big advertising campaigns, editorials, huge magazines. And I think I was sponsored to stay in London, and I came back to Australia while my sponsorship was going through and met my daughter's dad and had the decision to make, am I going to go back to London and continue this career, as my next goal was to go to New York, or is it time for something different? And we were living back in my hometown of Byron Bay, surfing every day, just being free spirited. And I
Mm.
had decided to have a sabbatical and time off. And that's when I decided, after breaking my toe surfing, um,
Goodness.
that the universe is kind of going, no, it's time to change direction now. It's time to get back on your path and get behind the camera. And that's when I enrolled at RMIT in Melbourne and became a photographer 13 years ago.
So you actually studied photography at uni. That's amazing. That would have been, how long does that course take? I'm just curious.
Well, funny enough, I enrolled, and well, it was a diploma, so it was through the TAFE at RMIT, which I'm much more into the technical stuff. I personally, my way is I didn't want to learn all the theoretical stuff in the history of photography. That's kind of,
Yes.
get out there and do it and show people how I see the world, really. And applied, got in, we packed up our house here. We went on a surf trip to Sumatra,
Mm.
and in a shopping center in Malaysia, I found out I was pregnant. And I was like, wow, cool. So we're homeless, starting a new career, moving into state where we don't know anyone, and having a baby. No biggie. And so, yeah, moved to Melbourne when I was 8 months pregnant. So after 5 months of moving there, my dad also passed away suddenly. So it was a very big year, as well as no one giving me a job while I was studying to financially support myself because I was pregnant.
Mm.
And that's when I actually made the decision and announced that I'll never work for anyone ever again. So I started a kids' party business at that stage as well, called Pretty Little Things Parties. And I sold that in 2015. But that financially supported me through my studies as I grew my photography business.
So yes, I was going to say anyone that's watching this, I highly recommend you check Prue's Instagram because I saw that you have the most incredible photography from what you just described from Malaysia. And I was going to ask you, you really travel a lot, obviously, or was that just this compressed time? Have you always been a big traveler, or is it connected with your husband's or partner's work, or how did that whole thing work? I'm very curious. It sounds so adventurous. I love it.
Yeah, I've always been very adventurous. I had a map of the world on my wall when I was a kid, and I was like, oh my God, I only live in this tiny little bit here, and there's all these people and places to go. So I've always been an inspired traveler.
Mm.
So previous to COVID times, I would go overseas twice a year, once on my own for 3 weeks, if not longer, before my daughter. And then I'd also take her on an overseas trip as well. But I'll take her, we're kind of merging further and further away from Australia, but I've taken her to a few Pacific Island countries and Asian countries. And our next trip was meant to be Japan. Also, I'll just do a little side note. I'm not with my daughter's father, so we ended that relationship in 2015.
Mm.
But so yeah, I've always been a big traveler, but since COVID, I haven't been overseas. And to be honest, the calling isn't as strong anymore. And it doesn't feel as safe. But I have moved back to my hometown, Byron Bay, where I do feel I'm very connected to the land, the nature, the environment, and it's much more suited to my lifestyle and my values. So I like to believe that I live on a holiday now and I travel for work, and that's what I do. So this is my base where I can stay grounded and connected and then fill my cup. And then when I do serve and go and do photo shoots for clients, like I come from a full place and can give.
Yes. You come from a full cup, and that sounds incredible. And I bet you, so is that energy in your photography? I haven't looked at everything, but I know you do indoor photography, but do you do a lot of outside sort of photography for people as well? Like if I were to come and see you and say, hey, I would love one where I'm meditating amongst the trees, would you be doing that as well? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I've done outside and inside photography. I've done absolutely everything you name it. I've shot it and
Okay.
refined the work that I do over the years. Firstly to niching it down to shooting only people, and then the types of people, and then also how. But yeah, I've been through a bit of an evolution with it. And I went through a stage of just wanting to strip everything back and shoot people in studio because
Mhm.
it's then the focus is on them and really capturing those like minute little moments where you can see almost their soul coming through.
Yes.
It's that glimmer of their potential that really captures the viewer as well and makes them more intrigued about who this person is and their story as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but also as a part of my process, which is going a little bit off the track about shooting inside and outside, is that it's really important for me that I'm connected to my client, because a portrait is really a reflection of the person in front of the camera and their relationship and how they feel in front of the person taking their photo. So
Mm-hmm.
they must feel safe, connected, because it's one of the most vulnerable things that you can do is be in front of the lens and being fully seen and exposed. So within that, I want to know what their goals is, what's their vision, what's their values, so I can see where they're actually going. And I kind of do this in an intuitive way, understand what the future them looks like. So I'm taking photos of them where they're going, not where they're at now, because, you know, that was yesterday already. And so really elevating them to step into their vision through photography as well.
I absolutely love that. And it is true that it is super vulnerable and awkward. It's almost like if you don't have the connection, you can't show yourself. And also, you want to catch laughing, depth, soulfulness. And I've seen that in your portraits. I've looked at that of both men and women, and the way the light is and the way it's like you can see the soul. It's true. It's not about externals. It's about their depth and their layers. And I really love that. And that's like a memory to have forever. Even if you're an entrepreneur and you want this, it's something that your kids or your family can look at and go, I can see my parents' soul or this person's essence. And I think I love humanity, and capturing that like you do is just a real gift. I've seen you and I see the way you talk and the way you've done it. It's incredible.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. That
So I
means
have a Yeah, thank you as well. But what I was going to say is, if someone were to see you, for example, what are some tips that you suggest to people to loosen up in front of the camera? What do you do besides obviously connecting and maybe having a chat beforehand? How do you make sure that someone says, oh, I'm really scared, I've never had photos, and really I probably should, and I know it would be good. What's your advice to a woman like that, perhaps in business or even not in business, just wanting to have a nice picture of herself in case, because I'm talking about women right now.
yeah.
What would be your advice to that kind of thing?
Well, firstly, it's choosing a photographer that has a style that you like, and then on the phone and connecting with them. So I know you said loosening up in front of the camera, but it's also going in with a really clear intention of what it is that you want to create, and making sure that the person that's taking your photos understands that and is on the same page. Because if you just call a random photographer and go, hey, I want some photos of me, and you just and do it, you're not really going to get the result that you want. So I feel like 80% of the work is done before the shoot day. And that means on the day of the shoot is we're both really clear about the vision that we want to create together. So while having that goal and the vision and the kind of the road map of what we want it to look like, it then allows for flexibility and freedom within that, because everything, the main stuff's in place. And then it's all about the connection, playing, having fun, being collaborative. I'm very collaborative with my clients, and I shoot it to my computer so they can see the results. If a photographer is just shooting and you can't actually see what they're capturing, it can make you feel insecure, because you're like, I don't know if I look good or not. And then you get the sent to you and you're like, oh, I don't like any of these. So it's really important, once as I shoot, that they come and have a look at the photos, and we can go, all right, that angle's not working so good, or that top doesn't look so good, let's change this up. And then get a photo where literally they look at them on the screen and they're crying because they're like, oh my goodness, is that how I look? And it's like, yeah, you need having the right person to hold space and reflect back to you your power, your beauty, your essence, and everything that's there. So I believe that when people see the outcome as they go, it then makes them soften and relax and trust in the process, trust in the photographer that's capturing the photos. So most of my clients, pretty much 95% of them go, I hate being in front of the camera. And I'm just like, I hear it all the time. By the end of the shoot, they don't want to leave. They're like, oh, what about this and this? And so we play and we try stuff, because then they can really surrender and let go and step into it and feel comfortable with that in the process, in the photographer. So there's not specific tips. Like I could tell you to go and practice poses in front of the mirror, but it's actually not up to you. That's not your job. That's not where your power is. It's actually the photographer's job to guide you through the poses, to guide you in connection and conversation so that you can be relaxed. There's nothing really you can do to prepare, except I do ask my clients to make sure that they're eating really well the week before, so that their skin is glowing, their eyes are clear, they're getting a good night's sleep, that they introduce some meditation, even if it's for 10 minutes a day, and do a meditation in the morning where they can set the intentions for the day, so they're in a really clear frame of mind on what the outcome is to be.
I love that. I really do. And I also love how you said you hold space, as we call in our spiritual terms. You really holding space, and you also, I'm guessing, you, because of your experience, you've seen those phases and how people will soften out, and then at the end you get that complete laugh, probably at the beginning somewhat too, but it develops. It's almost like a journey, I can imagine, from what you're sharing. It goes deeper and deeper, and by the end it's almost like they have discovered that they can be comfortable being who they are in front of the camera and share it with the world. So it's like actually a growth experience, I can imagine, for some people, letting go of barriers and fears. Is that right? Or
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting. I've had clients come back to me in recent times wanting to do a much more vulnerable shoot, either in lingerie or even naked. And for them, it's been a rebirthing process. And I was like, whoa, okay, so I'm doing some kind of spiritual healing now through my photography.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And these women have, what I've seen the pattern in is that they've gone through a major change in their life. Like their kids have grown up and moved out of home, or divorce. Divorce has been a huge one that's majorly affected women. And, you know, they've gone through their grieving process or what they've needed to do. And at the end of that, they've gone, I've got my power back. I've found, reestablished who I am. I know who I am, and really stepping into a whole new level of owning their power in the world. And that's when they'll come to me and do a new shoot to really capture that essence.
To actually, embody it, and in terms of not just embody it, but bring it out, being able to share it. It's almost like it's not a secret anymore. I'm really owning it. And I love that. And that is what my audience would be into, the idea that, look, this is even self-esteem building, one, but it's also a reflection of self-esteem, a new beginning and a new way of seeing things. Like, for example, the way I grew up, my parents were super conservative, and I had to literally grow out of that concept that we should never be showing ourselves. We should be really private and almost like extremely so, to completely rebirthing myself and having my children, and then also a divorce, and then the new chapters, and reassessing myself in my new chapters and as a woman, and what I actually want to be remembered for. So I absolutely love that. That's like art gallery material, inspirational stuff. And I'm feeling that I must have a photo shoot with you one day, and come to Byron or wherever we can. You do travel between Australia. Do you go to Melbourne and Sydney? Sorry, you go all over the place, don't you, even right now?
Yeah, so a lot of my clients are mainly in Sydney and Melbourne, or they live regionally and they travel to one of those cities. And it's funny, I've had some kind of blockage around shooting here, but I've had clients fly to Byron to work with me, and I think I need to open that up a lot more. So they've turned it into kind of a retreat. So they come up here, they stay at Gaia or somewhere beautiful and have some healing sessions done, have their photo shoot, which has actually inspired me to put together a retreat as well, because there's so many beautiful retreat spaces here, and much more that I do than just photography. I love facilitating and holding circles and coaching and mentoring people as well through transitions in life, and helping them find their purpose and power and really confidently step into it and own it as well.
I love that. And I think that would give you also that capacity to connect with, in my case, as I'm talking with women that you photograph, I'm sure with men too, but the capacity to know that spiritual dimension and to hold those workshops and to have gone through your own evolution helps you all the more to connect with women, and they will feel safe to be vulnerable. So it's this full circle, and that's how I do my work as well when I work and coach women, to really let go of root cause of things that they have been experiencing. They feel safe. They know they're not being judged. They know that they can really explore the thing, and I'm holding that space, and I'm going, do you want to release that? Let's find out where that actually started in the unconscious. And we go there, and it's super easy, rather than, oh, will she judge me? Should I mention that? What if I get it wrong? It's the same principle. And with photography and your retreats, I'm imagining that you could even hold as part of your retreats afterwards photography. Have you done that, or is someone else doing that, where people hold retreats and then they have these goddess photography afterwards, where they're feeling really good and they're sitting there with their, you know, full state of peace and relaxation? Have you done that, or is that someone else?
Done so-called goddess photography. You know, there's definitely this calling to go into more of the spiritual realm, but there is also, because I've always been a very spiritual person, there's a bit of blockage in me in going down that too ethereal route, because I've had quite conservative clients. But what I realize is I might work with a very conservative client, like a CEO of a big company, but then when she's in front of the camera with me, we'll be going deep about meditation and higher consciousness and all sorts of things. So yeah, I guess it's learning for me as well to break down that facade that it has to be that way, and allow more of this spiritual side to come through. I guess what gets in the way for me, and this might be a little coaching session, you coaching me around this, is that I'm kind of, everything for me has to have a purpose and a meaning, I guess. And I'm like, well, what's someone going to use a goddess photo for? And I guess it's something that I've never wanted. And so for me, I'm like, well, I need photos to promote my business and who I am. And then, you know, I want my daughter and myself, and then photos of my friends, you know, which we would do ourselves. But yeah, I'm kind of thinking like, yeah.
No, I have got lots of answers to that question.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Well, to me, you know, people sometimes have paintings, full-size paintings of themselves, or they give it away to their husbands, and it's like a memoir of them in their state. And I have taken photos of people after my retreats, just subtly, and given it to them as a memory of that state of consciousness. So when they look back, they go, look at me, I'm radiant, I'm at peace, I'm glowing, and being able to put that in a posture, and for a photographer to capture that without bad backlighting and knowing the angles. I mean, that's just the ultimate. And they could put that up as part of the retreat to remind themselves of their goddess selves. They could have it again as a part of something they put up in a frame, or as a memoir that is in a book that they might publish one day about themselves, a biography. I could think of thousands of things. I think I would love it myself. Yes.
Actually, that's so true. I guess I've had a concern about if someone just stepped into the studio and then instantly went into that state, because it's not really possible. But doing it in the process of through, you know, a 3-day retreat where they have done work and some clearing, which then does bring that certain light into your eyes. And yeah, there's actually a beautiful retreat space up here that I've been wanting to hold a retreat at, which is beautiful for photo shoots too. So watch this space.
I love it so much. I do. Because I've run so many retreats myself, I always see the beauty in the women there. And I literally think, do you even realize how gorgeous you are? And I often don't think they do, because they look, you know, they've changed. Their face is soft. They're meditating, or they're just sitting there journaling. And there's this absolute beauty. And my photographer self, I've been photographing for ages too, not as early as you, but since about 7 or 8, when I got my first little gadgety camera. And I just always felt fascinated to capture beauty. And it's a real art form, isn't it? Because what you see with your eyes is so different afterwards. But the idea that a woman can't even see her own beauty often, and to see that perfect light, you know, how you said that venue has the right light, the combination of that is like to me, that's beyond 3D. That's like really going deep. And I'm super excited if I could have that opportunity to be there or to be part of it. It would absolutely make me super passionate. And I think it's great. In your divine time, we've just planted the seeds and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've created the landing page for it and everything. So there, I keep going, do I add the photography in or not? And I wouldn't want it to be rushed. And how many people am I capable of shooting in a day? Because I've really held that back to 4 people in a day when I hire a studio, when I have people come in on a studio day, because I transfer and absorb so much energy as an empath as well. So I really connect into my clients' energy field and use my energy to make them feel empowered and be in as well. And there's only so much you can do that in with so many people in one day. So yeah, while also, because like I'm always wanting to create the best, most beautiful work for my clients, and that's why people's photos last them for so many years, which is a detriment to my own business, because then I've always got to find new clients, but they always come back to me. So I'm a part of my clients' life and business journey. That's why I go deep with them, because once they work with me, I am their photographer for life. And
yes, because you've made a real connection. Now, I was going to say, you did mention earlier, let me just check on my little checklist. I think you did mention earlier that you nearly wanted to give up photography, but that have you finished that full story? I know you were saying it was male influenced and then you didn't get a chance and then you had all these things. Was that the one, or was it once you started your small own private business that you wanted to almost stop? Was there another part to that story, or?
Yeah, probably about 5 years ago, there was this niggle going, there's something else that you're meant to be doing. And I found that I kind of reached all my goals in my photography career. I was working with the great clients that I wanted to work with. I was making the money I wanted to earn. I knew I was really good at what I did. And so you get to this point, you're like, well, what's next? And so I built a business course where I coach and mentor photographers, which I've just taken on a business partner with. So that still runs twice a year. It's called the Go-To Photographer. And from that as well, I was saying I was a business coach, but wasn't actually trained in coaching. I was more of a mentor. So I went and became certified as a coach. And I absolutely loved it. Like, I love coaching people. So I do have quite a few private coaching clients who are mostly creative entrepreneurs. And because we're so intertwined in our business with our personal life and our business, is kind of personal coaching, which then affects the business. And so I started doing that. And then I've been like, well, do I let go of photography or do I keep it? What do I do with it? It's kind of lingering. And I actually announced to my audience, I said, I'm not a photographer anymore. This was in end of 2021. And so, and then I didn't realize how long it takes to actually build a coaching business. And then all the inquiries started coming in. And so I've just been in this like, well, it's not going away. And I kept having people going, you've got a gift. This is your special gift. And you can't not do this. Like, what are you doing? And it was really torturous. It was so painful to go through, because I was like, why am I feeling drained from doing this work? What's happening? Am I meant to do it? Am I meant to not? Like, just feeling lost with who I am. And moved back to Byron Bay thinking, everything's going to be marvelous and wonderful. But my mum actually died here when I was 14. We moved here 6 months earlier. And she was only 39, and I also turned 39 when I moved here. So moving back here was a huge healing thing too. And I was like, it's time just to let go of your business and what you do in the world and who you are in the world for a moment, and work on this stuff that you've really left behind, that some people might drink or take drugs to avoid their healing. Mine was working. So I worked really hard, was always obsessed with my career and business. And so moving back here was like, right, we're just going to remove all that for a moment. And when we say I'm talking about the universe or your higher self, and just said, it's time to work on yourself and what you haven't actually looked at and faced. And so all the stuff that the unhealed stuff that came up from when I was a teenager, but also my mum's stuff, and going, what's my mum's stuff and what's my stuff, and healing her relationship with her parents and her sister, who I hadn't spoken to for years. So, and also, which was affecting my relationship with my daughter, who turned 13 this year. So, it's a part of the cycles of life. And this book called It Didn't Start With You has been very impactful in this process too, to understand at what's going on and help heal this. And so after a lot of letting go, a lot of shedding, and kind of while trying to grasp it, going, but who am I in the world, and how am I going to make money, and how am I going to survive? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Surrendering and like letting go of that through a lot of physical anxiety and depression. It's been a hard road, but I've come full circle now with that, and had clients reach out to me wanting to do new shoots and just coming in with this new healed energy and photographing in a different way. I also had to increase my prices as well, because I realized I didn't want to work with just anyone and just say yes to any job. I really wanted to do intentional work with people that I really believed in and felt connected with, and do work that had purpose too. So that's where I've come to. And then I've got my coaching clients. So it's all kind of coming together. Like, my photography is really seeing people's potential and helping them step into their power with the imagery and being seen. And the coaching is helping them remove that baggage and let go of stuff like what I did, to step into their power and become aligned with their purpose as well. And so they're both existing side by side, and we'll see what the evolution, it's not fully through its transformation, but that's kind of where it's at.
Oh my goodness, I could have said so many things just listening to you. You have gone so deep. No, I love it. It's like, again, this is going to show the audience as well your journey, your depth, and how they can connect with you, which is what I'm really wanting to share. We are humans, and being vulnerable and realizing, as you say, the generational effect of what happened with your mom, what transmutes through you to your daughter, and equally what is happening for your clients is so deep and so rewarding and transformative. And yes, it feels like crap in between, right? We have to all go through that stuff, and looking at it isn't comfortable, but otherwise we carry it around and it's in our face, it's in our work, it's in everything, right? I always feel like the sooner we release that stuff, the better. The moment we're ready, let's go, because it just drags through everything otherwise, doesn't it? And
yeah, it drags. And, your energy when you're in that space, like, I know I had a few inquiries come up when I was really in the depths of stuff, and I was kind of like, never in my life I felt like I was actually repelling people. And just energetically my body was like, no, you are not meant to be working right now. You are still healing. You don't have anything to give. And yeah, people just kind of drifted off. And as soon as I cleared stuff, like, it was unbelievable. I got this really nasty flu and was sick for 10 days. And I feel like that was the last physical purge of it. The following week, I had 4 inquiries come through. They all booked. It all felt like this really renewed energy. And yeah, and that's why with my coaching, it's personal coaching. It's like, it's doing the work to clear stuff so that you can be aligned and your business aligned with what you do, and attracting the right types of clients and doing work that energizes you and doesn't.
And I really hope everybody's listening to that, because that is a key thing to being an entrepreneur, and not to burn out, and to actually not feel resentments, to attract the right people, and to have an incredible time whilst working. So work doesn't even feel like work, and you are like a magnet. And like you said, you repulse the one people, or you repel them, let's say. And I'm doing the same, actually. I've had to come to a slowdown. I've had a big change and crossroads, and I've just become really still, and hardly anyone is around me. And I really appreciate that, because I need that. And as I come out, different people will come in. And I feel that's a huge life lesson for all of us, not just as entrepreneurs, but as mothers, as daughters, as human citizens, to know, hang on a sec, I need me time. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not functioning my optimum. I'm getting lost in the mind. I'm not in my heart anymore properly. And then it all becomes a drag and a drain.
Definitely. And I think probably the biggest lesson, or it's like a big lesson, but also the little thing that I implement every day when things feel a bit hard or it's going against the grain, going, am I coming from my head or my heart? And it's moving down and working from a heart space, not from the head. And I think that's a global, universal thing that everyone is shifting into, working, coming from their heart energy now. And through the astrology and all the different things that are going on in the world, we all need to be working from our heart.
Oh, I love it. You know, we haven't talked that much for me to know all that about you, but I just absolutely, and that was my intuition was let's connect with Prue. And I just felt that. And you've just proven to me, you know, we are extremely similar in that context. And I always do this as my main thing. The main thing is go into your heart space. It will create miracles. It will make life easier. It will make life more meaningful and long lasting positive experiences. It's healing, and it's the only way forward in all the craziness the world is going through everywhere. I feel that, and people will feel that, and in watching you and hearing that. So I really appreciate you sharing that with everyone. And the audience can ask themselves, you know, where are you coming from when you make your main decisions? Are they coming from your head and the program and survival or fear or unconsciousness? Or are they coming as you step into the heart by meditating, slowing down and feeling that? And I love that you do your work like that. Probably doesn't feel like work anymore so much now.
No, I've really learned to listen to my body and also work with where my energy is at, and know that. So for me, I'm a morning person. I now get up at 5:30 a.m. I do my workout, meditation, but I also, like today, because I did 2 workouts yesterday. Today I was like, I'm actually going to allow myself to stay in bed a bit longer today, because I know I've got a lot of deep writing and deep focus work. And then when you would have this chat, so that I would have the capacity to do that and not burn out as well. And like yesterday, I had Zoom meetings all morning, and I knew I had deep focus writing in the afternoon. So I broke up the day, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to rub it into anyone, but I actually made sure that I went out and got in the sun, and I got into the ocean just to wash away the morning, come back with a renewed energy, and start the afternoon. I'm also a really big napper. And I've been doing this ever since high school, but around 2 or 3 p.m., I'll have a 20-minute nap. And it's kind of more like a deep meditation or a yoga nidra nap, but that helps me re-energize for the afternoon and be able to achieve everything that I want to. But yeah.
You are just so amazing, and that's your success and your radiance. And I love that you're sharing that, because guess what? I'm a sleep expert on the side as well, and it's a real life skill to learn how to nap, especially if you have kiddies, especially if you have a child that might have woken up a lot, or you feel that slump. Instead of drinking the coffee and pushing on, that 20-minute yoga nidra is so life changing. So I love that it's coming straight from you, and that you are, I'm sure, coaching people on that, and listening to the body. Every one of my clients always says, I need to go deeper into my body. And then once they're there, all the wisdom and clarity comes out, because the intelligence is driving everything from there. So I really, really appreciate that you share that as your lifestyle. And that's how you can give to your community, to the people you work with. And you have the guts, may I add, also to charge more, to be more selective. And I feel that better. I feel the same way, quality over quantity, and getting the right people, charging a bit more, but you are fully there. You're valuing your time, and the people that you attract value your time and pay for it. It's just perfect. It's radiance in action. So
yeah. Otherwise, the quality of work suffers. I'm not happy with the results. The clients don't notice, but I notice.
you know, yes.
I know when it's not my best work, and I always want to do my best work. So I have to, do it a certain way as well.
Yeah, that integrity. So now can I ask, as we round up, because I know you probably have other things on, otherwise we talk for ages. How can people find you? And you just mention it, I'll put it in the notes below, but just also mentioning, well, how do you like to be reached and where you found the most?
I would say Instagram. I'm obviously everyone's on there every day checking in at some point. I can be terrible at getting back to my DMs sometimes, because I might be checking them while I'm in the queue and then forget to write back. But Instagram's the best place to find me. So it's prueaja.co. Otherwise, I'm also on LinkedIn, but I try and keep it to one place. And yeah, you can send me a message on there and say hi. And I'd love to know if there's any nuggets of gold that people have got from our chat today as well.
Exactly, because it's all about women supporting women and experiencing and celebrating each other's beauty, each other's uniqueness, and how we're getting through this crazy life with all the challenges, because we all have plenty, that's for sure, right? And how, sharing those tips.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unless you want to say anything else, we'll roll it up, or whatever the word might be. We will finish up our beautiful interview. Is there any last thing you want to mention to anybody?
I think I've got across like all the main things. Yeah. Just like learning to listen to your heart, allowing yourself rest. And if you're still tired, you haven't rested enough. Ask your body if you feel guilty for resting too much, which I always did, but now I have learned not to, is ask your body, okay, well, how much rest do I need? Is it until lunchtime? Do I need 2 days rest? And let it tell you. You will know, because once you have that rest, then you'll be able to give and create amazing work for the world.
You do, and thank you so much. And the truth is that you suddenly get everything done that normally would take 5 days, and you get it done in 1 or 2 days. I've noticed it's a total illusion, and suddenly you become so in tune with the flow of life that everything just falls into place that normally would take ages. So it all works out, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I feel
it does.
Well,
Oh,
thank you so much. And I hope that everyone who's watching had a good time as well, and gives us some comments and feedback or other questions that might have arisen. Anything like that is always welcome. And it was amazing to interview you. Thank you for your time.
thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Ciao for now.
Bye.